Every week I take a video for myself that I don't show a soul. And my only rule is that I'm as honest as possible with myself about my experience. I talk about the juicy topics. I talk about sex. I talk about everything that's sort of like tense and within me that I'm thinking about, that I'm trying to figure out. I put them in these videos for myself, honestly, direct to camera. This is probably my most unusual habit. It's probably my most risky habit. But if you were to ask me, am I glad that I do it? I would say, hell yes, and I wish I would have started earlier. Of course, this is not for everyone, but if you're reflective about your life, if you like to journal, if you like to tell stories about your life, if you feel like you're working up to something great in your life and you feel like you want to catalog that journey, then this habit might be for you. So I make this video for friends. I make it for a younger version of myself that I wish would have started this habit earlier. I make it for you if you're a college student and you're thinking about your journey and you want to document that. Yeah, those are the people I make it for. Let's get into it. I speak directly to camera just like this every Sunday, giving an honest reflection about what my week was like. And I talk about the juicy stuff. I swear I talk about my insecurities. I cry sometimes. I just use it as an honest expression for what the heck happened this week. I usually prepare topics over the course of the week. I just have like a Apple Notes that I just add various topics, things that are tense that I want to reflect on at the end of the week. And then when I sit down to do it, I just go through the list. The result of this is I now have 10 months of weekly videos where I'm just honest and raw about my life. And as I watch back, it's this weird feeling because I'm like a narrator looking in on my life and knowing how things are actually going to turn out. It's very strange. And my question is it worth it? So I obviously do this and I'm talking about why it's good, but there are clear and obvious reasons how this could go completely wrong and be sort of awful. So I want to talk about those because they keep me up at night and I feel like I got to be honest with myself and with you about what could go wrong. If these videos somehow got out, that would be really sad for me. It would feel like my personal diary is just out in the world for everyone to make fun of and to ridicule, and I'd be held to my most personal, most vulnerable word. Maybe people don't really care. Probably they don't. But it would be an awful invasion of my privacy and the privacy of everyone that I talk about in the videos. Maybe I wouldn't be able to get a job that I wanted to. Maybe I wouldn't be able to run for office. That's a classic example people throw around. But to be held to my most vulnerable word is not something that I'd want to live in public. The second risk with all this, which is maybe a more realistic risk, is the time risk. Basically, that I would look back at all this time that I spent doing this and think that it's a big bunch of procrastination. Maybe it's the type of thing that I just stop doing one week because I forget to, and then the next week, and the next week, and the next week, and then it just ends up being something I stop doing and that isn't valuable for my life anymore. And that's a bit of a scary and sad thought for me that all of this effort that I've been putting into it is actually just for nothing. Like it's actually just not worth it of something for me to do every week. So why do I still do it? Why do I do it? First, it feels like the most authentic way that I've found to document my real experience. It's so easy to forget life and the things that happened and how you were feeling in a particular moment. And I think about when I see high school friends and we reminisce about high school in a particular night. It's always fun and you remember more details talking about them with friends, and keeping these videos is like doing this for myself. There was this time earlier this year that I felt myself falling for someone romantically, and it was so unique and kind of weird to watch myself week after week having these emotions and to see how they changed. Like that felt really interesting. By seeing your experience week over week, it also helps you objectively look at your life and understand certain patterns in your thought. Earlier this year, I was also struggling with personal creation. I really wanted to create more and to speak from my personal voice, but I was finding that I just wasn't making time for it in the week. And I noticed myself complaining about this week over week. So it's a bit meta, but here I am making this video, and it's a result of me looking back on my former experience and reflecting on that and figuring out a way to change it and to do something differently. The second reason I do this is that it's taught me what my voice really is. When I talk directly to camera and I just say things as they come to mind with no filter, with honesty, I realize how I actually speak. If you ever speak to camera yourself, you know it is freaking awkward to do. And so by doing this again and again, I've got to believe that I'm getting more confident, more at ease, and I'm building up this skill that I think is one that will really allow me to connect with people online and to, do awesome things with my storytelling. The last reason, I think it's only going to become easier to do interesting things with this database of video journals. I know with work that, you can search in a database of your prior meetings and it'll show you every time that you talked about a particular client or XYZ thing. And I think the same thing would be very helpful as I look back through my journal entries. Maybe I want to find every time that I talked about my dad because Father's Day is coming up and I want to write a nice letter. Maybe I want to think about every time that I talked about love or about work in the past 3 months because I want to identify my patterns of thought so I could break them, so I can evolve them, so I can make them better. Privacy matters so much to me with this topic, and so it's not something I've done yet, uploading them all somewhere and tried to do this, but I know it's something I want to research and make sure I understand so I can better assess the risk and then move towards doing that because I think it would be really valuable to do that with all this footage. I want to end with a final thought, which is maybe the biggest reason of all for why I continue to do this week after week. I think about last week and I think about what happened in that week, and it wasn't a very particularly significant or important week in the course of my year, in the course of my life. But there will be a week that I get married. There will be a week that I have a kid. There will be a week that I lose a loved one. There will be a week that these important things in my life happen. And I know that by keeping this journal week after week, I'm going to be able to see the full fluctuation of my experience, the monotony and the highlights. I know that I'm going to get this honest representation of what my life really is. I hope that by looking back, I can be more empathetic to my younger self, that I can see the curiosity and the passion and the energy that that person has, and I can feel confident in that. I hope that by looking back, I can find that motivation to continue to do things that are worth documenting and to continue to lean into emotions that are hard and to lean into dreams and being a person that I want to be. And I hope that I can continue to bring more self-awareness to my experience by looking back at the honest reality of things, that I can see those patterns of thought, that I can acknowledge my own weakness and become stronger because of it. I want to celebrate this life and I want to see it in its honesty. And this habit helps me do that. So I make this video because I know that there's someone out there watching this who might benefit from this practice, right? I'm not selling you anything, right? Like by doing this, by setting a calendar invite for yourself, tomorrow morning, it's Sunday. Why don't you try it? See how it feels. And I think it might be one of the things that you're most happy with yourself that you did this year, that you started doing, right? And I think you'll be amazed the journey that you go through, and you'll be amazed the possibilities that this footage is going to give you in your life. So from this desk, from this Saturday sunny morning in San Francisco, I wish you well. I hope you're real with yourself. I hope you're empathetic to yourself, and I'll see you next week.